How's it going, guys? So we have just been treated to one of the most insane weekends of Premier League football maybe ever. No matter who you support, you can't deny that this game week will go down in history as an all-time classic. There's a lot to talk about here and a lot of teams to make fun of, so let's get straight to it. The first talking point of this video is going to be the Leeds-Manchester City game. At first, I was tempted to put this down as Man City dropping the ball, but I actually figured that neither team deserved to be criticised for this one. It was just a classic match, a 1-1 draw that could have finished 3 or 4-1. I was really looking forward to this clash between Pep Guardiola and Marcelo Bielsa, and it didn't disappoint. While the 1-1 final scoreline might not suggest the most thrilling encounter, this one truly was an example of terrific end-to-end football with both sides going for the win. If anyone still had any lingering doubts about Leeds United's hopes of doing well this season, surely they've now been dispensed with. The next game worthy of a mention is the Manchester United vs Tottenham Hotspur match, which finished Man United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 6. This was just a crazy game from start to finish. Man United were a goal up within the first 2 minutes and then 2-1 down less than 5 minutes later. The craziest part about this game is that the scoreline isn't even the main talking point. That honour instead goes to Anthony Martial's red card, which was shown to him around half an hour into the game. For those of you that haven't seen the incident, Man United were defending a corner and there was an altercation between Eric Lamela and Anthony Martial. The replay shows that Eric Lamela had given Martial a push in the shoulder and his forearm goes on to connect with the Frenchman's chin. Martial reacts to this by slapping him in the face. It was a very light slap and Lamela does throw himself down to the ground in an embarrassing heap, but it was stupid from Martial. If it were up to me and I made the rules, I would say a yellow card for both of them would suffice and the ref could tell them to cop on and grow up. Referee Anthony Taylor, however, disagreed with this, instead showing a red card to Martial and nothing to Lamela. That being said, I do think that the referee made the correct decision based on the current laws of the game. Lamela's shove on Martial was nothing more than the usual handbags that you see at corners. The fact that his forearm ended up making contact with Martial's chin was accidental. Martial's retaliation, on the other hand, was deliberate. And deliberate is what was important for the referee. It was a moment of madness for Martial, and the fact that Lamela's play acting was disgraceful doesn't change the fact that you can't do what the United number 9 did. I know that zero Man United fans are going to agree with me either way, but still, it doesn't change the fact that the red card is a poor excuse for how badly they capitulated after that. It's going to be a long international break for Ole as he has to think about what to do with the squad ahead of their next game against Burnley. Now, moving on to who is flying high, and finally I am awarding this to Everton. This was actually a very tough decision between the Toffees and Aston Villa, who are the only other team in the league with a perfect record. But with Ancelotti's men sitting by themselves at the top of the table, I just couldn't ignore them any longer. This has been a dream start for Everton. They have 12 points from a possible 12 and 11 goals to go with it. How long they can maintain this kind of form for, I don't know. But their next match is in the Merseyside derby against Liverpool. So if they come away from that with a win, then I see no reason not to consider them as potential title contenders. While the fact that they've only managed to keep one clean sheet so far shows that their defence and goalkeeper still need a bit of work, if they manage to keep the likes of James Rodriguez and Dominic Calvert-Lewin fit, well, all I'll say is crazier things have happened. On now to who dropped the ball, and I'm going for Leicester. Both Leicester and West Ham recorded terrific victories in their last games, and I said that the two of them should come into this one feeling really confident. It's safe to say that West Ham delivered, and Leicester did not. Take nothing away from West Ham. They were good, and they deserved to win, and win by the comfortable margin that they did. But they were definitely helped by Leicester just being absolutely terrible. They had a chance here to stay top of the table, and they threw it away without even so much as a hint of a fight. The stats show that Jamie Vardy had less touches than any other player on the pitch, including both sides of goalkeepers and substitutes. This shows that Leicester will struggle in games where their opposition limits their space in behind and suffocates any service into their main man. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you see other teams start to employ this tactic against them. They may have shown some terrific early form, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Foxes struggle a bit from here on out. Anyway, on to the shock of the week. And twice this week I thought that I had my pick nailed on. Before a ball was even kicked at the start of the weekend, if you told me that Leicester were going to lose 3-0 at home to West Ham, I'd be surprised, but I'd believe it. If you then tried to tell me that Spurs were going to beat Manchester United by 6-1 in Old Trafford, well, I'd be a bit less accepting. Even after you explained to me about the earlier red card and the capitulation, I'd be a bit more inclined to believe it, but you still wouldn't see me betting my house on the outcome. Still, I don't think that there is anyone in the world who could ever have convinced me that Aston Villa were going to beat Liverpool by 7-2. And I'm delighted for it. I hate to say it, but this performance from Villa featured a masterclass from Jack Grealish, as well as Ollie Watkins and Ross Barkley. I'm actually a huge fan of Ross Barkley's, and I was a bit shocked to say the least when it was suddenly announced that he was going on loan to the Villains. I felt like he was the most balanced midfielder that Chelsea had, but still, I wish him all the best on his loan move, and I hope he comes back to Chelsea an even greater player because of it. Moving on to Liverpool, and in this game, they were simply victims of their own arrogance. They abandoned all semblance of structure in pursuit of goals, and Aston Villa were more than happy to punish them for it. Sure, half the Villa goals took massive deflections, but 6 months from now, everyone will have forgotten about that. 6 years from now, everybody will still be talking about Aston Villa 7, Liverpool 2. While still on the topic of this epic clash, it's time to award the week's shining star, and it is, of course, the scorer of the perfect hat-trick, Ollie Watkins, who also managed to register an assist in this match. He did have to beat out stiff competition from James Rodriguez and Jack Grealish, but in the end, my own rule of always rewarding the hat-trick shone through. By the time this match was kicking off late on Sunday evening, I was looking forward to actually having a decision to make. But for his 3 goals and overall terrorising performance against the champions, I'm more than happy to award it to Ollie. It's safe to say I underestimated Aston Villa a bit at the start of the season, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing more of them. Finally, moving on to Chelsea, who played the first game of the week and came out 4-0 winners against Crystal Palace. Don't get me wrong, this was a great result, but before I so much as watched the rest of the games, I wasn't even tempted to list them as flying high. Having previously drawn against West Brom and then gotten dumped out of the Carabao Cup by Spurs, it's going to take more than a victory against Crystal Palace to convince me that we're on the right track, but it is a step in the right direction. One talking point towards the end of the game was when we got our second penalty. Despite Jorginho being our designated penalty taker, Tammy Abraham picked up the ball in an attempt to take that responsibility from him. Jorginho just kind of stood there, but as all good captains do, Azpilicueta came in and took the ball off Tammy, handed it to Jorginho and told Tammy Abraham to back off. Considering we were 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go, I don't see much wrong with Tammy Abraham wanting to cap off his performance with a goal. That being said, it's also good to see Azpilicueta putting his foot down and taking control on the pitch. Look, I'm confident that there's not going to be any falling outs over this, so honestly, I'm seeing the show of passion as a win, and I hope to see a bit more of it going forward. Anyway guys, it's time to wrap this video up. Quite a lot went on this weekend, so which moment stood out the most for you? Comment below, don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video.